Starting off, first and foremost, I'm really happy to see all of you here today. I'm really excited to kind of share a little bit about my journey and, oh, that's a clicker. We all know that's important. A little bit about my journey, but more importantly, I really want to use the opportunity today to share with you the 4 underrated leadership skills that I've unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, have had the opportunity to learn throughout the last 10 years. While in my roles, I've had the privilege to work very close proximity with founders, CEOs, and top leadership in some of the largest companies. However, what I'm going to try and do today is, instead of talking about my career and my transition into where I am today, I'm going to use the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about what I've experienced and what I key them as top underrated leadership skills. Now, this really is a message to all of the women in seats, all of the women in C-suite, all of the women in leadership roles, but also equally to all of the inspiring women who wants to go into leadership roles. So let's get started. What are the 4 key underrated skills in the leadership that helps you show up as the leader you deserve to be, not the leader you want or desire to be? Okay, as I said, I didn't want to use too much time to talk about my career, but more importantly, I want to use the opportunity to talk about the companies I've worked for, that has gotten me to who I am today and who I want to be in the future as well. So starting off, companies I used to work for are corporates. I call them consulting firms. I call them startups. I call them scale-ups that then turn into unicorns. They're also large fintech startups. Now, the difference here is, over the last few years, including having research in my most recently published book called The Soul of Startups, it's really an accumulation of all of the leadership skills I've been able to see while working, interviewing, close proximity with women leaders in place. So I want to describe the companies that I've worked with instead, that have safe environments, that have managers who've been able to nurture me to make me the leader I am today, CEOs who truly had the opportunity to show me what true empowerment means, and also I've had the privilege to work with founders who are purposefully value-led. But how does all of this come back to the 4 underrated skills? So these are the 4 things that I really look into when I either work with a founder that I coach, I work with leadership, as well as part of my leadership coaching. The 4 key things that we really look into is having emotional resilience, DEI as a principle in your day-to-day. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I see some heads nodding here, which gets me really excited. Then authentic leadership. What does it truly mean to show up as a leader that is truly authentic? And then finally, assertiveness. Starting off with emotional resilience. Now, I'm incredibly excited about talking about emotional resilience because I think there are a lot of times that we as women, we keep them as an underrated skills. We don't know we have them until we absolutely need to use them. It is absolutely our ability to adapt through difficulties. It is our ability to recover, thrive, in the face of adversity. We take charge of difficult moments, challenges, and we kind of power through. And as a leader, we lead people through them across the board, if not in your teams. Now, when we do this, we're able to remain composed, focused, and we're also incredibly effective in navigating circumstances. So think about a time when you've had a female leader in the room that was able to tell you, that's fine, we've got this, it's all good. Or, in the fintech industry, we tend to hear leaders say, with incredible emotional resilience, they tend to say, it's fine, we're not saving lives here. And I love that, right? It's what I've learned. Then, by having a strong emotional resilience, you're also able to maintain a really positive mindset. You handle setbacks really well. And at the same time, you instill and inspire confidence within your teams. You want to be the leader that shows up in the room and know that you've got your team. And especially, as we all know, it's incredibly crucial in building great and cohesive relationships across the board, not just within your teams, with your peers, with your leadership teams as well. Now, the second one, as I said, I've seen a couple of head nods. DEI as a principle, what does this truly mean? How do you adapt this into your day-to-day as a leader? It's because it is the most important role that we play as women leaders. It is our absolute role to champion a more equitable and more inclusive workplace wherever we go. Think about the teams that you're creating. Think about the environments that you're creating. Think about all these things that you're passing down to create an incredible legacy behind. Because of that, you show up with a commitment to create great workplaces that are fair, equitable, and inclusive. We all know how important it is to be in a room like this today, where we know it is incredibly safe to say whatever you want, to wake up with your own opinions, and to know that you're fully accepted for who you are. It drives innovation. We say this all the time. You read it in articles. It's absolutely plastered on the headlines. But what does this truly mean is, when you champion DE&I as a principle in your day-to-day, you lead teams that drives innovation forward. It makes you grow. It makes you accept alternative options. And that, in turn, create some of the most incredible or most competitive teams in the world. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to think about the alternatives and accept them along the way. And finally, when you're a leader like that, you build trust, you build credibility, you're authentic in your leadership, and you finally become the leader you want to be. Now, authentic leadership leading up to that. I love this saying. It means being an authentic leader is when you're truly aware of your self-awareness. You use it in the most pivotal moments as you are leading a company or leading a team. You're incredibly transparent. You're genuine in the way you lead. Basically, what I say about this is, I'm Sophie, and I'm an authentic leader. I am who I am. Most of the time, I really cut through challenges. Some may call me aggressive. Some may call me different names. But it is what it is, right? It's the way I lead. It's the way I inspire confidence. And it's the way I try to run things where I see them fit. So as we lead with authentic leadership, we lead with integrity, we build trust. I know I say this word a lot of times, but psychological safety in a workplace does come down to being able to build credibility and trust in your teams and in the company. More importantly, you're able to establish meaningful connections. Now, a little background story about establishing meaningful connections. When I first started out in my career, I was in a heavily male-dominated environment. It wasn't just for tech. In the last 10 years, I spent my time in tech. In the fintech industry, you can all imagine how male-dominated that is. But prior to that, I spent 5 years in the automotive industry. It was me alone, and I did that in my university degree in automotive engineering. I was never able to build meaningful connections. I've had friends, I have colleagues, I have peers, but none of them really connected until I was thrown into the deep end in the fintech industry. And then I learned to show up as my authentic self. This was even before I became a leader. And I was able to immediately connect and make these meaningful relationships that got me not just to here today, but helped me through along the way and helped me learn some of the underrated skills that I'm talking about today. So bear in mind that whenever you're able to build a meaningful connection and a meaningful relationship, pat yourself on the shoulder and know that you're able to build that because you are being your authentic self. Because of that, you prioritize open, honest communication, and all in all really creates empowerment. I was talking about this earlier. I've been incredibly lucky to work with fintech founders, fintech CEOs that truly showed me what empowerment means. And that means they say in the morning, Sophie, you've got this, go for it. We learn from mistakes. We learn from our failures. And that's the sound of empowerment. It isn't about micromanaging. It isn't about telling you exactly what you need to do to be successful in the shape and form of exactly who they are. They're not trying to tell you to mirror their successes. Instead, they tell you to be exactly who you want to be or who you desire to be. Find your own way and learn it. And finally, this is so important, and I will always emphasize this. As an authentic leader, and as you show up as the person you are, you're able to embrace uniqueness. And because of that, you're able to challenge gender norms. You break glass ceilings, because glass ceilings are very subjective at the moment. It is what you perceive as your own glass ceiling. Moving on to that, assertiveness. I could not tell you how excited I am when I was able to actually put this word down as one of the underrated skills. It took me a long time and a good few years for me to come to terms to this word, because along the way in my career, I'm sure maybe a couple of you with a raise of hand have been told, you're too harsh with your feedback, you're too direct, you're too aggressive. Sophie, you're too loud. Maybe I'm Australian, maybe I am loud. You make too much noise. You know what? If anybody has ever told you in your career these few things, I want you to pat yourself on the shoulder, just right there, this morning, because that's exactly what it means. But don't misunderstand my confidence. It's my confidence. It's who I show up to be. It's who I want to be. And it's not because I am aggressive that I can't do my work. It's not because I'm direct with my feedback that doesn't help you grow. So never misunderstand and never let anybody misunderstand your assertiveness for your confidence. Now, with confidence, we all know this. I think we can take it all for granted. We communicate confidently. We express ourselves, our needs, our opinion, and then we set clear boundaries with respect. We all know what it's like when we don't have boundaries. We work with people who are incredibly difficult, that we no longer enjoy the work that we do, be it a leader or not. This is really important, this part here. Setting yourself up for successful negotiations. Why? Because when you win negotiations, you set the path for yourself, you advocate for yourself, but you also advocate for others. As women in leadership roles, if you don't set the path for others, what type of legacy are you leaving behind? You're basically doing it just for yourself. And we all know that's no fun, right? And finally, this is what I'll leave you with, is never feel like you need to slave for a job, for an industry, or anything like that. Being confident is not exclusive to just about being a leader. It is about being your true self. Now, I know I said there are 4 things. And there's this one 5th and most important one that I really want to leave you with today. And I don't think it's an underrated skill, to be honest. I think the top 4 were. But this is something that in every leadership training, in every management training you will hear, we're required to have effective communication. But what does actually effective communication mean? Not from a surface level that you understand that we're having a great conversation, I'm honest, I'm transparent, and I leave information as it looks like. But what it means is truly to understand that it's actually a 2-way partnership. Okay? What this means is I want you all to take a moment, reset when the times get difficult, listen very attentively to both yourself and your audience, open up your mind, show empathy towards acceptance, other alternatives and options, because it is only when we have and we truly understand effective communication is a 2-way partnership, this is not just about me talking or you talking, that you're able to achieve the type of leadership or the type of leader you want to be. So, before I leave you, I really want to kind of share this one with you. It's always resonated with me for the last couple of years, and I could not agree more, from one of my favorite authors. Now, leadership is not a position nor a person. It is actually a complex moral relationship between people that are based on trust, obligation, showing up as who you are, commitment, emotions, we talked about that earlier, and a shared vision of the good. And to that, I leave you here today with the 4 underrated skills, as well as effective communication as a partnership. And I'm Sophie. As I said, I've shown up here today as your coach. I'm a mentor, I'm a leader, but more importantly, I'm your advocate. Thank you.